Welcome back to 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life. Today's topic, a call to action. My call to action is for you to share your thoughts and your views on the past two episodes if you had a chance to listen about mastering and overcoming certain events and things in your life. The information and events that I share with you on this podcast is over 2 decades, over 20 years of my life experience, whether it been personal or business. The things that I've been able to accomplish and overcome over the past 20 years, I hope helps you take your life to another level and help you out of a stupor or stump that you may be in, help you get over to the next level in your life. Hopefully these words of encouragement are the words to help you, and it's just the oomph that you need to go to another level. You know, when I think about, my electrocution, like it's not a proud moment in my life. It's not one of those things in life that I wish upon anyone. So hopefully you don't have to deal with that type of experience in life. You'll have your own stories to tell, your own little foxes that they call them, that you have to adapt and overcome to become a better you and to go to another level in your life. Hopefully, even this episode encourage you to do that. That's why it's called a call to action. I would like to hear from you, whether it's on my Facebook, whether it's on ljtucker.com or Instagram, or just comment below. I like to hear your stories. Am I hitting the topics? Not that you just like, but is it helping you grow in your business life, your personal life? And this is why I'm calling it a call to action, because you get to do something. Instead of just listening or watching, you get to do something. You get to examine. I'm not a judge. I'm not here to judge. My thing is to help. And maybe your story, I can share it so it can help somebody else that's listening and watching to this podcast. So going back to my electrocution, as we call it, as I finish up the few details through editing of this book, and I just reflect back, I'm grateful because, I was one step away to the other side. I was one step away from, you're not even hearing this message today because it could have went the other way. And it's more detailed in the book. When you get it, you'll be able to hear more of my story about that. But even in business, it looks good on the outside, but the journey of getting to the point where I'm at financially, physically, and mentally, and spiritually, it's a journey that through hard work, learning my craft, I was able to navigate through this journey and continue not just to press on, but to lead by example, by getting up, scrapping my boots on, putting my clothes on with a smile every day, because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy being able to be a provider. I enjoy being able to be the best possible me to give my customers, to give people around me and people that I come in contact with a different perspective, to give them all that they're paying for, to give them more than what they're paying for, to give them more in use value than I take from them in cash value. I enjoy doing that. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and we cut down a lot of wood, a lot of exotic woods, and the exotic woods are worth a lot of money. People say, "Oh, you can sell that, you can do this." I say, "Yeah, I can, but I just give it away to my wood guys that specialize in wood." They say, "Why don't you get money from it?" I say, "I get something more valuable than money. I get the friendships." Keep in mind, this wood that I was going to pay to get rid of, I'm able to bless somebody in their business so they can use it to help them grow in their business, and they don't have to pay anything for it. Just by me sowing into their business and their life is a reward enough for me. And I'm okay with that because I'm not looking to start an exotic wood business or wood business. I don't want to make furnitures like this table or chairs. That's not my forte. That's not what I want to do. And I'm okay with that. I really love sowing into other people's lives. So that's where I'm at when it comes to that. Over the past several weeks, we talked about things like getting back to the basics. I want you to examine yourself and see where there's some areas in your life you can get back to the basics, or where you have looked over your life and got back to the basics. Share that information so we can help others, again, get back to their basics. That's how simple it is, folks. Getting back to the bare basics to get us to where we want to be at in life. Because the fundamentals of life are so basic, and with today's world, technology, and the speed of life itself, we get away from it. We go from basically walking wherever we got to go, to riding our bikes to wherever we got to go, riding our scooter to wherever we got to go, using a skateboard to go wherever we got to go, to driving cars or motorcycles, flying in planes, riding in boats or jet skis or sidekicks or slingshots. And we forget about how basic things are. I admire the people, the mechanic, that for whatever reason, he don't have a car or don't have a license. And so he used the basics to get to and for, not the city bus, not Uber. He walks or rides his bike. And I see this on a consistent basis. Like when I'm going to and for, I'm like, man, this guy's dedicated. He didn't let whatever circumstance that he went through stop him from being a provider from his family. And when life throws us those curveballs or challenges, sometimes we forget about the basics. And we're all guilty of it, even me. We get it so good with the technology that we forget about those simple basics that help us to get to where we even are. You know, your value is not in your bank account and how much money you got or assets that you have. It's fine and good. It's nice to have. But that's not the value. The value is your ability to go get it again because you haven't forgot about the basics. See, when we forget about those basics, we stop being creators and we stop growing physically, mentally, and spiritually. So if you want to be better at whatever it is that you do, sometimes you really, really have to stay a beginner and keep your same routine and remember those basics, because those basics helps us. This is my call to order. Like, remember those basics. Share those stories of those basics. I remember when I walk into my office and I look at my $40 pole saw sitting there. Although I don't use that saw anymore, I still carry a handheld saw. A slinky is what they call them, a silky, not a slinky. A silky is what they call them. And I keep it in that bucket because sometimes I may have to finish a cut when I run out of fuel in my chainsaw, or the battery dies on the chainsaw that I'm using that's battery operated. And that silky will be just enough of what I need to finish a cut off so I can move on to the next stage or the next step of what I'm doing, whether I'm trimming or doing a removal of a tree. And those simple basic steps helps me as a business owner, as a architect and technician of working in the business. Just understanding those basics is so fundamentally invaluable, because it'll get you out of a short pinch if something's not working. Something so small as adjusting a sprinkler head, and all you need is a flathead screwdriver. You don't need the T-tool, because the basics of learning how to operate and adjust sprinklers comes back and oh, I can easily do that. Or I know how to adjust that sprinkler without needing a sprinkler tube because I don't have it. The simple basic stuff, whether it's swimming or learning how to play a instrument. Some people are naturally gifted when it comes to instrument, and they can play instruments without being able to read music. I'm pretty gifted. I can't read music, but I play piano and the organ pretty well. But still, there's a basics to it. You have to understand the basic fundamentals to be able to play any chord, a major chord or a minor chord. And just the simple basics, understanding the concept of how to make the chords come together so you can complete a song or play play music that's pleasing, not just to yourself, but other people enjoy to hear you play. That's the basics. You can't just get on an instrument, a piano or a flute or guitar and just bang on the keys or the strings. You have to understand the basic philosophy of the instrument that you have at hand. And that is keeping it basic as it comes. This podcast, this message may seem similar to other ones because it is. I want you as an individual, as a person, to grow in your life mentally, physically, and spiritually. So those messages are clear and almost the same. Keep it simple, basic. Write some of this stuff down in order to grow. It's what we have to do. It's not something, well, I'm thinking about it. If you, as a person listening or watching in this podcast, it's without saying, if you're one of those people, the fact that you're listening to this podcast, you long, you desire to go to another level. This is the only reason you're listening anyway. I would like to say it's because of my cute smile or my personality, but it's something that I'm saying that's helping you somewhere in your life. That's my call to order. I like to hear from you as well, but it's the reason why we do what we do. Overcoming obstacles is not that hard at all when we remain keeping things basic. Sometimes we focus on the engineering and how to be a pro, and sometimes we forget about the basic things that got us to whatever point where we're at. We stop having fun. We start doing the simple things that help us get us where we're at, and we, so to speak, lose our way. And when you lose your way, how do you get back? You go back to the basics. You go back to, you see this happen with athletes. We see it happen in ministries. You see this happen in Hollywood. People get to a certain level and they forget their way by forgetting the basics because they meet a whole new set of friends and they're trying to fit in and they start acting a certain way because they think that this is what they need to do to upkeep or maintain a relationship with their newfound freedom and friends that they have. And they forget about the basics, what even got them through that door. It's so automatic, which is funny. One day we had to call the locksmith because we forgot the basics. We're so used to going in through the garage that we never bother bringing the house key. And for whatever reason, the lock got automatically locked one day, and then we lost power. And so not only could we not get into the garage, but we couldn't get in through the front door because we didn't have something simple, the door key. We didn't have the key to get in the front door. And so we waited around before we called the locksmith, and then the power came back on. And so we were able to open the garage with the remote control. And the kicker is the door to the garage entry to the house was also locked. So we still was in a dilemma because we didn't have the house key to get in through the front door or the garage door. Something so basic that we took for granted, make sure you got the house key with you, and we didn't. So long story short, we had to call the locksmith. An hour later, we were able to get into the house after church. It was on a Sunday. And that taught me something. I carry my house key with me, period. How basic can that be, carrying your house key? Because we start to rely on technology so much sometimes that we forget the basics of carrying a house key on your keychain of the vehicle that you're driving, and not getting complacent that, oh, you're always going to be able to get in through the garage. But what if you're not? What if you're in a rush and you got to use the restroom and your kids got to use the restroom? Then you got to leave the house and take care of all those things because you don't have a basic key to get inside. It's not rocket science. This is why I make these podcasts, not only to help you, but help myself as well. It allows me to get my thoughts out. It allows me to continue to be a creator. It allows me to become a better me. It allows me to reflect on my accomplishments. It allows me to reflect on how far I have come as a person, as a man, as a father. It allows me to do all those things. It allows me to be the best that God has created me to be. It allows me to continue growing. It allows me to do things I never imagined of doing, but because I follow basic principles of writing some of my visions down and applying them to my life, it makes it a little bit easier to navigate through it. There's no other advantage to doing a podcast. I'm not doing it for the money because I'm not getting paid. Maybe eventually they'll kick in advertisements or whatnot, whatever that happens, but that's not the purpose of me investing in what it takes to do this podcast. I'm doing it because I feel like I was born to do this. I was born to give back, to help other people navigate their way through life through my experience, the things that I've been through over the past 2 decades. And that's my call of action. The basic information that you need is that starting point. It's just like you have information to put into the GPS to take you where you need to go. Well, you have to put the information from your creation, your own creation, either from pen to paper, or you can type it out or use voice notes, something that you can reflect on, and you start your journey from there. And throughout that journey, if there's something that you don't like or you don't like the path that it's taking you to, you can reflect on it, grab that pen and paper again, rewrite or add to or take from, and continue that journey. A lot of times when I put stuff in a GPS, I know how to get to it, but I'm trying to avoid accidents and traffic backups. And so I'll put it in there and it says, make a left at the next intersection. I'm like, no, this time of day that traffic's gonna be bad. I'm gonna go up 2 more intersections before I turn that left into mayhem. And you know what I'm talking about if you've been sitting in traffic in your city and you know the streets pretty well, you know what streets to stay off of because of mayhem. And just like in life, you experience mayhem in traffic, there's mayhem people that you need to stay away from in life. So when you see them coming or calling, you know to avoid it at all costs, to avoid what? Mayhem. And this is how we get to other levels. That's just keeping it basic as possible, avoiding mayhem. And the way we do that is, again, that word keeps coming up, keeping it basics. That means we have a finger on the pulse. We understand what's at stake. It's your life. It's your next journey in life. It's your next step in life. It's your peace. How do you protect that peace? Well, you keep it simple. How do you keep it simple? You keep it simple by when you can, because you always can't avoid conflict. You can't always avoid the traffic backups. So you keep it simple. And you not taking shortcuts, because sometimes the GPS, they're taking you the shortest route, or they're taking you a route paid for by sponsors and advertisers so you can go by their place of business and maybe stop and get fuel or something. So what do we do? And a lot of times when I avoid GPS, I'm actually going 2 or 3 miles out, and I always pay attention to the arrival time, because arrival time can be 15 minutes away because of the traffic. And then when I deviate from what the GPS is trying to tell me, excuse me, I actually get there sometimes 5 or 6 minutes sooner because I went the way that I knew. And sometimes you have to go with what you know and what you feel inside. You can't always stick to the script, because when you stick to a script, you can't ad-lib when things go wrong. And that's the trick. Your call to action is to dig deep, dig down, and see what you can do better in life. And has this show helped you? Or what have you, when it comes to monitoring the fundamentals of life, like, where do you stand? What can you do? Share it in the comments. I definitely would like to hear your story. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, and comment. My book will be here soon. ljtucker.com, or you can find us on Instagram. Have a great week.